The colony had rules. One of them was simple. When she walks by, don't make eye contact, and never look at the thing beside her. She came from the mountain stall, violet-skinned, with silver markings on her face. Her clothes were made from leather and alien scales, and her eyes, they glowed faintly red. But it wasn't her that made people shut their doors and hide. It was the beast on the leash. It looked like a nightmare. Bigger than a horse, with dark fur and glowing red eyes. Its claws left deep marks in the metal ground. And when it opened its mouth, jagged teeth sharper than any blade showed. No one had ever seen it eat, but some believed it didn't need food. It fed on fear. People whispered stories. It tore a mining bot in half. It once chased a guard out into the desert. It understands when you speak, and it hates humans. But Jack, a new arrival on the colony, hadn't heard those stories yet. He was a mechanic sent to repair broken water pumps and power cables. He didn't care much for alien gossip. He just wanted to finish his work and go back to Earth. The first time he saw her, she was walking down the central path. The streets emptied in seconds. The door slammed shut. Even the security drones hovered, higher, watching from a distance. But Jack stood still. He had just stepped out of a repair shed, holding a wrench and wiping sweat from his neck. He saw the girl walking toward him and the beast beside her. The ground vibrated under each step the monster took. Jack didn't move. The alien girl noticed him. Her eyes narrowed. She tugged gently on the thick chain leash. The beast growled, low and deep, as if warning him. Still, Jack stood there, arms relaxed, his head tilted slightly, smiled. You training it, or it training you? The girl stopped. People watched from their windows in shock. No one ever talked to her, and no one ever smiled at the beast. She didn't answer right away. Then she stepped closer, just enough so that Jack could feel the creature's breath. It smelled like burnt metal and cold wind. Her voice was soft but sharp. Don't test him. He's not like your Earth animals. Jack looked at the beast. No collar, no muzzle, doesn't bark, looks smart. The girl gave him a strange look. He is smart, smarter than most on this planet. He chooses who lives and who bleeds. Beast growled again. This time a few lights flickered across its fur like slow waves of red heat. Jack didn't blink. Is that a threat? She stared at him for a long moment, then turned her back. It's a warning. Stay away, human. As she walked away, the beast looked over its shoulder at Jack. Their eyes met for just a second, and Jack did something no one else ever had. He winked. That night, people came to Jack's quarters. A miner named Core pounded on his door. Are you stupid? That thing has killed people before. Jack opened the door calmly. It didn't kill me. You were lucky. Next time it might not stop. Jack shrugged. He looked like he was testing me. I did the same. You don't understand, Core growled. The alien girl, she's not like the rest. She doesn't talk to anyone. She doesn't even eat with us. And that thing, whatever it is, it obeys only her. Jack leaned on the doorframe. Obeys, huh? Are you sure she's in control? Core hesitated. What do you mean? Jack glanced out his small window toward the desert beyond the colony. Walls. I've trained war dogs before. This thing, this creature. It looked at her like she was its pack, but looked at me like I was a puzzle. Later, Jack sat alone outside under the 2 moons. He cleaned his tools, whistling softly. Then he heard a low growl. He turned slowly and froze. The beast was there, alone, no leash. No girl, just standing 10 feet away watching him. Jack didn't move, kept his eyes low, but didn't run. The creature sniffed the air and took one slow step forward. Jack whispered, What do you want, big guy? The beast stopped, sniffed again, then turned and disappeared into the shadows. Moments later, the alien girl appeared. Her breathing was fast, her hair messy like she had been running. She looked around wildly, then locked eyes with Jack. Did he hurt you? Jack stood. No, he just visited. She stared at him, stunned. No one's ever survived. Being near him alone, she whispered. He doesn't trust anyone, not even my people. Jack smiled again. Maybe he knows I'm different. The girl stared at him like he was a glitch in her world. "He's never done this before," she said softly. "Not once." Jack looked toward the dark trail where the beast had vanished. "Well," he said, "first time for everything." Jack should have never gone alone. The dust fields were dangerous long stretches of cracked ground. Metal shards buried under sand, and sudden sinkholes that swallowed machines like they never existed. Still, Jack had a job to do. A solar tower had lost power, and the engineers were too scared to go near it. Why? Because she lived near that area, and where she lived, the beast followed. Jack packed his toolkit and walked out under the double suns, the heat pressing down on his shoulders. He didn't tell anyone where he was going, maybe because he didn't think he needed help, maybe because part of him wanted to see her again. Hours passed. He reached the broken tower. Its panels were cracked, wires were exposed, and the power core was unstable. Jack crouched down, wiping sweat from his forehead, and got to work. The only sound was the soft wind pushing dry sand around his boots. Then the ground shuddered, before he could react. A deep crack split under him, and the earth gave way. Jack shouted as he fell. Rocks scraped his arms, tools flew from his bag, and his head slammed into something hard. Then everything went dark. When Jack woke up, everything hurt. His leg was twisted under a metal pipe, bleeding badly. His left wrist wouldn't move. He reached for his cracked, broken, useless. No one knew he was out here as the suns began to set. Cold wind swept through the ravine. Jack tried to push the pipe off his leg, but it wouldn't budge. Pain shot up his body and he yelled. In frustration, that's when he heard it. A sound like claws scraping stone. A low, growing growl that echoed down the walls of the pit. Jack's breath caught in his chest. It was the beast. He saw a massive shadow at the top of the ravine. Glowing red eyes locked onto him. The creature growled again, deeper this time. Jack didn't move. If this was how he died, at least it wasn't alone. But then, something unexpected happened. The beast didn't leap. It climbed slowly, carefully down the rocky edge. It moved with the grace of something intelligent, not wild. When it reached Jack, it didn't growl, it whined. The beast lowered its massive head and sniffed Jack's injured leg. Its eyes blinked slowly, like it understood. Then Jack heard soft footsteps. The alien girl appeared at the edge above, then jumped down with the ease of someone born in gravity. Her eyes were wide, breathless. He came to find you? Jack chuckled weakly. If he's here to eat me, tell him I don't taste great. She didn't laugh. She crouched beside him, placing her hand gently on his chest to steady him. He doesn't find people, doesn't care about people. He only came because he sensed you. Jack winced as she carefully examined his leg. You shouldn't have come out here alone, she whispered. This place has buried stronger men. Guess I'm not very smart, Jack muttered. The beast let out a soft rumble and lay down. Beside them, its massive body curling to block the wind. The girl looked shocked. He's protecting you. Jack turned his head, staring into the glowing eyes just inches away. You keep saying he doesn't do this, he said softly. Maybe he's changing. No. She shook her head slowly. You are. They waited for nightfall. The girl used a strange metal device to send a distress pulse from her wrist. Jack had trouble keeping his eyes open. To stay awake, he asked her, What's his name? She paused. We don't give him one. In our tongue, he is Gorvak. It means silent death. He's not a pet. Was bred to guard royal bloodlines. I inherited him. Not by choice. Jack smiled weakly. Well, silent death doesn't seem so scary anymore. She looked at him. Don't trust that. He could still tear out your throat, but for now, he's chosen not to. Jack looked into her eyes. And what about you? Have you chosen me too? She didn't answer, but her hand didn't move from his chest. Hours later, human rescue mechs arrived. When the spotlights hit the ravine, the beast growled, standing protectively over Jack and the girl. The rescue team hesitated, guns ready, but the girl raised her hand. He is with us, she said firmly. Lower your weapons. Jack was lifted out on a hover stretcher, but his eyes never left the beast store, the alien girl standing beside it, her silver markings glowing in the night. As the medics flew him back, he whispered, "He came to find me, ... but she stayed." And that was when Jack knew. He was no longer just a mechanic, he had become something more. The next morning, nothing felt normal. Jack woke up in the colony's small med bay. White lights, beeping machines, bandaged leg, stiff wrist. But that wasn't what made his chest feel heavy. It was the silence. Not a normal silence, but the kind where people avoid your room, talk only in whispers. He heard it the moment the medbay door slid open and closed again. 2 engineers walked past without making eye contact. He caught a few words through the wall. He didn't run. They said the beast guarded him, and she stayed with him all night. What is he to her? Jack sat up slowly. The rumors had started, and they were growing like fire and dry grass by midday. Jack limped out into the main yard against the medic's orders. He wanted fresh air and answers. But when he stepped outside, people stopped talking. Conversations died instantly. Faces turned away. Even his closest mechanic partner, Huron, barely looked him in the eye. Jack tried to joke. Would I grow fangs overnight or something? Huron scratched the back of his neck. Look, Jack, people are scared. Of you. Of her, and especially of that. Then you mean the one that didn't eat me? Jack replied dryly. That's exactly the problem, Huron hissed. It should have. That things attacked drones, scared off patrols, even killed one of the older workers during a sandstorm last year. It never spares anyone. Jack crossed his arms. Well, maybe I'm just lucky. Or maybe, Huron said darkly, you've been claimed. That word echoed in Jack's mind all day. Claimed. What did it even mean? The alien girl hadn't said much after the rescue. Just a short nod and a quiet thank you for not screaming. Then she vanished again into the deep canyons beyond the colony. But now people were watching Jack wherever he went. Some with curiosity, most with fear. One evening, as the sun dipped below the rocks, Jack found himself alone by the repair sheds. That's when he heard its soft footsteps. He turned. She was there. Her long shadow stretched beside his. Her glowing eyes steadied him. The silence between them was almost fragile. Everyone's talking, Jack said calmly. I know, she replied. They think I'm cursed now. Her head tilted slightly. You might be, Jack chuckled. Thanks for the honesty. She stepped closer, her tone quieter. Do you regret helping me? No, Jack said without thinking. Even if part of him should. She sat beside him on the empty crate. Her skin shimmered faintly in the evening light. Jack noticed her hands were shaking. Are you cold? No, she replied. I'm angry. Why? Because you changed him. Jack looked confused. The beast. She nodded. Gorvek. He was made to kill anything that came near me. Trained for it. Designed for it. And yet, he chose to protect you. That's never happened before. Not even with my bloodkin. Is that a bad thing? I don't know, she admitted. But it means you're inside something now. Something bigger. And maybe something dangerous. Jack looked up at the stars. Back on Earth, he said. We had animals too. Big ones. Strong ones. Some of them were monsters to strangers. But the moment someone showed kindness, they changed. The girl was quiet. Maybe your monster just needed someone to look at him without fear, Jack added. She whispered, or maybe you're the monster now. And he just recognized you as one of his own. Jack turned to her, surprised. Is that what you think? She didn't answer. She just stood, her cloak blowing slightly in the breeze. Before she left, she said one final thing. They fear what they don't understand, Jack. But Gervek, he understands you. That's why he hasn't left your trail since you returned. What do you mean? She looked back once. He's nearby, watching, always. And then she was gone. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. The shadows outside his window moved in strange ways. He heard a deep breath too big for any human. It's Tutty. He stepped outside. The beast was there, lying in the sand silently, eyes glowing like dying coals. It didn't growl, didn't move, just watched him. Jack didn't speak, just sat down nearby. Two creatures under the stars, one called human, the other called monster. But maybe the names no longer mattered, because that night, without a single word, a bond was sealed, and the colony would never look at Jack the same way again. 3 nights had passed since the rescue, and still, the beast came back every night. It never approached Jack. It didn't need to. It simply lay a short distance from his sleeping quarters, watching, guarding, breathing like thunder. Jack had stopped being afraid. What replaced fear was curiosity. Why him? Why not attack like before? Why protect? He needed answers, and there was only one person who could give them. He found her near the canyon edge, seated on a smooth rock under a sky full of stars. She didn't look surprised to see him. It was as if she knew he'd come. The wind whispered through her white hair as she sat with legs crossed, eyes closed. The beast wasn't far, stood like a statue just behind her, silent and still. Jack didn't speak at first. He just sat across from her, feeling the ground's cold breath rise through the stone. After a moment, she said, without opening her eyes, "He didn't follow you tonight." "No. He followed me instead," she replied, which means he's listening again, but only barely. Jack looked at the beast. "Tell me the truth. What is he?" She slowly opened her eyes. "You really want to know?" "I think I deserve to." She stood and walked to the beast. Gently, she placed her palm on its shoulder. The fur shimmered with glowing lines barely visible, like ancient circuitry buried beneath the skin. "He's not natural," she began. "Not born. Not bred in a normal sense. He was created by my ancestors long ago." Jack listened carefully. "They called it the Veilborn Project. My people were hunted by machines, by invaders, by their own mistakes. So, they made protectors. Beasts woven from muscle, memory, and loyalty, meant to live only for one purpose, to guard royal bloodlines." Jack frowned. "So he's like a living security system?" She shook her head. "More than that, he can feel danger, sense betrayal, learn behaviors, and if the royal he's bonded to dies, he loses his purpose and slowly turns feral." Jack looked into the beast's glowing eyes. "So he was bonded to you?" She nodded. "Since I was a child." "And now?" Jack asked. "Is he changing?" She hesitated. "Yes," she said softly. "And that terrifies me." She turned to Jack, her voice barely above a whisper. "When you were trapped in the dust fields, he didn't come because I told him to. He came because he sensed you were in danger. That shouldn't be possible unless—" Jack completed the thought. "Unless I'm bonded to him too." The silence even. The wind paused to listen. Jack rubbed his face. "So what does that mean? Am I now some alien prince?" She chuckled for the first time. It was soft, almost sad. "No, you're still human, still outsider. But he has chosen you. And once that bond starts to form, it's not just the beast that's affected." Jack looked confused. "Then who else is?" She stepped closer. Her silver markings glowed brighter under the moonlight. "Me." Jack's voice softened. "Why?" She looked at him with eyes full of something deeper than fear conflict. "Because if he bonds to you, so might I." Jack's heart skipped. She took a deep breath. "You think this is a simple pet? A warrior beast with sharp claws?" "No. He was designed not just to protect, but to detect loyalty, truth, strength. And love?" Jack blinked. "Love?" She nodded slowly. "When he bonds, it's not just physical, it's emotional, spiritual. And when we stand close to him, those same feelings bleed into us." Jack turned toward the beast. "So, you feel what he feels?" "Sometimes more than I want to," Jack whispered. "And what does he feel now?" She didn't answer immediately. Then she stepped forward, so close that he could hear her heartbeat. "He feels safe around you," she whispered. "He feels seen." She paused. "And now?" "So do I." Suddenly, the ground trembled. A low boom echoed from across the canyon. The beast lifted its head. She turned sharply. "Scanners. Someone's watching. Not colony tech outsiders." Jack narrowed his eyes. Who? Her voice was cold. The ones who killed the last of my kind. And they're not here for resources. They're here for me. Jack stood. Then, we get you out of here. She looked at him, stunned. You'd help me again? Even after all this? Jack smiled. I helped you before I knew what you were. Now, I just know why it matters more. The beast let out a soft growl, not a warning. This time, but something almost like approval. The bond was no longer forming. It was sealed. The sky cracked open without warning, not with thunder, not with rain, but with fire. At exactly midnight, the colony's skies lit up. 3 black ships sliced through the atmosphere like silent blades. No alarms went off. No warnings were given. They weren't registered on any system. These weren't traders. These were hunters, and they had come for her. Jack woke to the sound of distant explosions. His first thought, power malfunction. His second, her. He leapt from bed, still half-dressed, and grabbed the emergency pulse rifle from under his bunk. A siren started blaring, but it was too late. Smoke was already rising near the landing yards. Then came the second sound. A roar. Not from the ships, from GUR-VE. By the time Jack reached the north wall, the colony was chaos. Engineers ran, lights flickered, drones were shot from the sky by red plasma bolts. People screamed, but in the middle of the smoke, something moved fast. It was him. The beast tore through the shadows like a missile with claws. It lunged into a group of armored men dressed in black with no insignia. One of them raised a weapon too slow. Gorvek slammed into him, crushing bone and armor in one terrifying leap. Jack aimed and fired at another, ducking behind a broken transport. Where is she? He shouted over the comms. No answer. Then came a familiar voice in his earpiece. Hers, Jack. They took me. I'm in the lower docks. They came for me, but now they want you to. He bonded to both of us. They. No. Static. Then silence. Jack's blood turned cold. He sprinted. The lower docks were almost abandoned now. Fires flickered through busted crates. Broken robots sparked on the floor. Jack moved carefully, gun up, heart pounding. Then he saw her. She was in chains, energy cuffs, glowing red being, dragged by a tall man in matte black armor with a metallic faceplate. Behind him, a soldier held a shock rod, poking at Gervek, who was locked inside some kind of energy cage, roaring, slamming his body against the invisible walls. Jack acted fast. He slid behind a storage crate and fired 3 clean shots. Soldier with the rod dropped instantly. The man in black turned. So this is the human, he said. His voice echoed unnaturally, one the beast disobeyed for. Curious. Jack didn't answer, just kept firing. The armored man dodged, within human speed, and kicked over a crate hiding behind it. Jack rushed forward, jumped over debris, and reached the girl. She looked up weakly. Why did you come? Jack gritted his teeth, unlocking her cuffs. Because you stayed. Blasters fired again. Jack pulled her behind cover, shielding her. With his body, Gervek howled. His roar split the air like a wave of fire. The energy cage holding him flickered, cracked, shattered. The beast exploded forward, slamming into the last attacker like a boulder with teeth. The armored man tried to raise his weapon, but it was too late. Claws tore through steel. Screams echoed through the dock as Gervek unleashed everything he had held. Back for years, Jack didn't watch. He just held her tight. When the smoke cleared, the girl stood on shaking legs, eyes locked with Gervek. The beast was bloodied, but breathing. His red eyes softened when he saw her. Then he looked at Jack. No growl, just understanding. The girl whispered. He risked everything. He's never broken a cage before. Jack placed a hand on the beast's head gently. Maybe he finally realized what freedom means. She looked at both of them, tears in her eyes. I'll send more. They'll never stop now. Jack nodded. Then we stopped running. That night, the colony was quiet. The fires were gone. The skies were dark again. But something had changed. The people who once feared her now stared at her differently, from behind walls, from rooftops, from shadows. Jack helped her sit near the edge of the yard. Wrapping a cloak around her shoulders, she turned to him. Why? Do you keep risking yourself? He looked up at the stars, then at her. Because sometimes monsters are just protectors waiting to be seen. And sometimes girls with glowing eyes aren't aliens. They're just alone. She didn't speak. She just leaned her head on his shoulder, and behind them, Gorvek lay down silently, his eyes finally at peace. The sun never truly rose on this world. It peeked through the red clouds like a tired flame, casting long shadows across the wrecked colony. The battle was over, but the air still smelled of scorched metal and ash. Jack sat near the med tent, hands bloody, eyes heavy, heart lost. She hadn't spoken since the fight. Not once. She just stared at the body of Gorvek. The beast was alive, but barely. His fur was soaked in purple-black blood. His chest rose slowly, his breath shallow. A long gash ran from his shoulder to his ribs. He hadn't moved since they brought him in. He's fading, the alien girl finally whispered. Jack turned his head slowly. She sat cross-legged beside the beast, her cloak torn, her glowing eyes dim. She wasn't the strong warrior anymore. She looked like a lost soul beside her dying friend. Jack knelt beside her. I thought he couldn't die, said softly. He can, she replied. Not from age, but from heartbreak. Jack blinked. Heartbreak, she nodded. Bond he formed. With me, with you. It made him feel things he was never built to carry. Joy, protection, love. These things feed his strength. But when they break, they drain him. Jack swallowed hard. Then we can't let it break. The girl closed her eyes and placed her palm on the beast's chest. For a moment, nothing happened. Then faint lights appeared, thin glowing veins beneath the fur. Like roots of a tree stretching from her hand across the beast's body. Jack watched in awe. What are you doing? I'm offering him part of my life force, she said quietly. A royal bond. I give, he heals. But it could kill me if I give too much. No, Jack said, grabbing her hand. There has to be another way. She looked at him. There is, she said softly. But it's forbidden. Jack leaned in. Tell me. She hesitated, then whispered, if someone outside my bloodline willingly gives a piece of their soul, the beast can be reborn, not just healed, but evolved, but the bond becomes eternal. You don't just share strength, you share everything. Jack frowned. You mean I'd be linked to him forever? To both of us, she said. Body, mind, heart, spirit, even after death. The air felt heavy. Jack looked at the beast's fading form. Then, at her trembling hands. He didn't need time to think. I'll do it. Her eyes widened. You don't even know what that means. I do, Jack said firmly. You said it's about choice. You chose me. You chose to stay. Now, I choose both of you. The girl blinked fast, as if holding back tears. You really want this? Jack smiled softly. You told me he protects royal blood, right? Then maybe it's time you made me royal. She reached into her cloak and pulled out a small, glowing crystal shaped like a tear pulsing with silver blue light. This is a bindstone, she whispered. It links souls. She placed it gently on Jack's chest. Close your eyes, she said, and open your heart. What followed felt like falling. Jack's body tensed, then relaxed. His mind stretched in directions he didn't know existed. He saw flashes of memory, hers, not his. A childhood in hiding, a mother's voice, cold loneliness of exile. Then another presence joined. Warmth, strength, fury, jot, Gur-Vek. Jack could feel him trapped in pain, but aware. The beast's mind was more than instinct. It was ancient, wounded, loyal. Jack didn't speak. He simply offered a feeling. I'm here. You're not alone. The light from the stone grew brighter, then shattered like glass into the air. Jack gasped as he opened his eyes. The beast stirred. Its eyes glowed white-hot for a second, then calmed to a soft red. Gorvek lifted his head, weak but breathing. Slowly, the beast pushed itself to its feet. The girl sobbed once, then clamped her hand over her mouth in shock. He's awake. Gorvek looked at her, then at Jack. Then something new happened. The beast knelt, not in submission, but in respect later. As the sky turned black, the girl sat beside Jack on a small hill overlooking the colony. He's different now, she whispered. More aware, less rage. He's balanced. Jack leaned back on his elbows. So what happens now? She turned to him, her eyes glowing faintly again now. She said, we're one. All three of us. You carry a bond older than most stars. That beast would now die for you and me. She paused. I think I already would. Jack looked into her eyes. You don't have to. She smiled softly. That's why I would. And far below? Gorvek stood at the edge of the colony, his head raised to the sky, not in hunger, but in peace. He had found his true pack. The colony would talk about that night for years. The fire in the sky, the beast breaking its cage. The girl once feared, and the human the only one who didn't run. Now the fires were gone. The wounds had healed. The fear had changed into something different. Respect. Jack walked through the marketplace alone. No one turned away anymore. Some nodded, some whispered greetings. A few brave ones even asked questions. Is it true the beast listens to your voice now? Does she really? Sleep in your room? Are you too? A thing? Jack smiled politely, but said little. There were some answers words couldn't explain, like how Gorvek would curl around their tent at night, like a silent guardian. Or how the alien girl Liari, as she finally allowed him to call her, would always reach for Jack's hand first when they walked. Their bond had become more than just a mystery. It had become a legend. One afternoon, Jack found Liari sitting beside Gorvek at the colony's edge, where desert met sky. The beast's eyes were half closed, calm, almost content. Liari was running her fingers through the thick fur behind his ears. Jack joined her quietly. I think he's happy, she said softly. Jack chuckled. Are you sure? He still growls at the food droid every time? She smiled. He doesn't like metal. Reminds him of chains. Jack sat beside her. So do you. She looked at him, not anymore. For a long moment, neither of them spoke, just the sound of wind brushing the sand. Then Liari turned to Jack. Do you know why everyone feared me? She asked. Jack thought. Because you were quiet, strong, and you walked beside a monster. She nodded. They thought I was dangerous because he was. But the truth is, he was dangerous because I was hurting. Jack stared at her. Gorvek mirrored me, she explained. He felt what I carried inside. My anger, my grief, my loneliness. He didn't become a killer on his own. I made him one. Jack reached for her hand, and now Aliati looked at him with eyes softer than he had ever seen. Now he reflects something else. Suddenly, the beast stirred. It stood, lifted its head, and released a low, deep hum, not a growl, but something different. A song. Jack blinked. Is he humming? Liari nodded. That's his way of telling us something is ending. And something new is beginning. The colony leaders came that night. They invited Liari and Jack to the central hall. What was once a warning hall, where decisions were made to banish now, became a place of offering. We want you to stay, one elder said. To Liari, you've changed him, and this place. Another added, your beast no longer threatens us, protects us now. He watches the children. We sleep because he stands. And then they turned to Jack. You tamed something no weapon could. Jack smiled faintly. I didn't tame him. I just listened. Later, under the twin moons, Liari stood beside Jack as he looked up at the stars. You never asked why I stayed that first night? She said. Jack looked at her. Because of the bond? She shook her head. No, because of your eyes. My eyes, they didn't lie. Everyone else looked at me like I was a ghost. You looked at me like I was real. Jack stepped closer, because you are. Touched his cheek, then kissed him softly. No words. No fire, just quiet truth. Behind them, Gorvek let out a low rumble. Jack laughed. What? Jealous? The beast huffed through his nose and turned away like a grumpy old uncle. The next morning, something new happened. A child walked up to Gorvek with a fruit in her hand. The entire colony held its breath. The beast lowered his head, sniffed it, then gently took it and nudged the girl's forehead with his nose. She giggled. Liari watched from a distance, her arms around Jack's waist. They used to call him Death, she whispered. Jack smiled. Now they'll call him Guardian. She looked up at him. And what about you? Jack leaned down, kissed her forehead, and whispered, Call me Lucky, the alien girl who was once feared, the human who refused to fear, and the beast who became something more. Together, they rewrote the meaning of bond, of trust, of love, and in the colony at the edge of nowhere, a new story began, not of monsters, but of family.